We're now joined by Budour Hassan. She's a researcher at Amnesty International for its Middle East and North Africa Regional Office, and she joins us from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank this morning. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for talking to us today.
Good morning, Marianne. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about this report released a week ago, or rather this week, from Amnesty International, and within it accusing Israel of militarizing the aid distribution system and using it to starve civilians. Can you explain to our viewers what led Amnesty International to that conclusion?
Amnesty has been investigating Israeli actions in the Gaza Strip since the 7th of October 2023. And even before the ceasefire, which lasted for about 2 months in January, we have found that restrictions on the entry of aid, including total sieges, have been used as a way to collectively punish Palestinians in Gaza and also to impose conditions of life calculated to bring about their physical destruction, which is one of the acts prohibited under the Genocide Convention. Now, since Israel slightly eased its total siege, we're talking again about a total siege where for 78 days, Israel did not allow a single drop of water, liter of fuel, or any kind of medical supplies to enter Gaza. After it has slightly eased those restrictions, this total siege, the work of this militarized distribution system began. But we've been investigating the situation, particularly in hospitals and among infants and children regarding starvation. And what we have found that over the month since this militarized aid distribution began, the situation when it came to malnutrition and starvation did not improve at all. We continue to speak with doctors working at hospitals, at malnutrition units, continue to speak with parents of children who have been suffering from malnutrition and starvation, including parents of babies and infants who died as a result of malnutrition. And the situation that they describe is absolutely harrowing. Aid, even the trickle of aid that is entering, is barely reaching its destination. The medical supplies continue to be running out. The fact that no fuel has been allowed in Gaza since the 2nd of March also is threatening the work of hospitals that require fuel to function. So the humanitarian catastrophe, which has been engineered by Israel and which the militarized aid system not only has failed to stop, but has actually entrenched further, really threatens the entirety of the 2 million people living in the Gaza Strip right now.
For those who aren't familiar with what the aid distribution process is right now, because it did change in May with the GHF now basically overseeing it and controlling it, what is the process?
So we're talking about, right now, there are 2 functioning locations where the Gaza so-called Humanitarian Foundation is operating. And the 2 are on the south of the Netzarim corridor. And this is really important because many have been warning that one of the aims of this project of the militarization of distribution of aid is to force Palestinians again from north to south. So to use it as a form of a forcible transfer or forced displacement. So these 2 locations are located in closed military zones, which the Israeli military has full control over. We're talking about razing of entire buildings, entire housing. All people who had been living where this newly militarized zones have been established have been displaced, particularly in the military distribution aid center in Rafah. Now, we've been talking with people who went there to receive aid. They were hopeful, actually, when news began that there is an organization distributing aid, despite the warnings and the concerns. And what they described to us is absolutely harrowing. One person told us, you cannot really talk about center. It's more like an animal pen. You have to leave very early at dawn, sometimes even to stay there overnight, to walk for kilometers under the threat of gunfire all the time. And there are these low hovering drones called as quadcopters threatening firing at people directly. For 4 kilometers almost you have to walk, not knowing whether you can even reach it. Now, the distribution of aid starts usually either very late at night or early at dawn. And for 10 minutes, once the gates of that cage where the aid is scattered open, people, thousands, tens of thousands of people start chasing each other, muscling their way beyond each other in order to get some of the crumbs that they can reach. and the vast majority go back empty-handed. Many go back, obviously, unfortunately, in body bags. We've talked to people, Marianne, who, because of Israeli fire, have been suffering injuries, including amputations, including life-changing disabilities. And this is particularly dangerous because we're talking about most of the people who go there are sole breadwinners for their families. So once they are injured, permanently injured or killed, these families have no longer anyone that can care for them. We have also documented cases of disappearances, people who have gone missing for over a month, and their families have absolutely no clue whether they are alive or dead.
I do want to mention that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, in response to this criticism, has said that it has delivered more than 52 million meals to hungry Palestinians. At the same time, we know that this week, more than 170 major international charities and non-governmental organizations have called for an immediate end to the foundation. If there is a ceasefire deal, which we are expecting to hear some kind of update on this weekend, how will that impact the humanitarian aid that could be getting in after that?
We're calling, as Amnesty International and the overwhelming majority of humanitarian and human rights organizations, in tandem with an immediate and permanent ceasefire for an unconditional entry of life-saving aid and supplies and their unfettered distribution by people who know how to distribute aid. Aid should be distributed by humanitarian organizations, by UN bodies that have the experience, the know-how, how to work in the occupied Gaza Strip, not by security contractors who are paid for, not by mercenaries. Aid should be distributed directly to people, not thrown at people, and then people are asked to go and muscle their way around in order to get that aid. It should be distributed humanely, with respect to people's privacy, with respect to their humanity, with respect to their dignity. Now, what we are hoping, obviously, for is that we don't want people in Gaza to rely on aid. We want them to be able to live independently, with freedom, with all their rights respected. But unfortunately, the situation that Israel has created and engineered mean that the overwhelming majority of people in Gaza are right now reliant on aid, and they are reliant on aid being distributed efficiently. Now, what we've been seeing also, every time there is a new proposal, once you remember, Marianne, last year we heard about the so-called floating pier about to distribute aid. We heard about the airdropping distribution of aid through airdropping it. And all these and now we have the Gaza non-humanitarian organization. All these efforts are just a way to dance around the issue that the blockade should be stopped. We should not be reinventing ways to humiliate Palestinians. We should be working to end the blockade. Now, every day we are having to fight, we are having to speak about a new way of how Palestinians are being humiliated, how aid is being weaponized, instead of talking about the real issue at hand. The real issue at hand, our problem is not with this organization or that organization. Our problem is about aid being used as a weapon of war. And this had stopped regardless of who distributes the aid or who manages it.
Budour, Hassan, thank you so much for your time and for your insight today. She is a researcher with Amnesty International for its Middle East and North Africa Regional Office.
Thank you.